signer for tonight.
In our very first story, the Supreme Court has dismissed the suit by a former High Court judge, Mr. Justice Paul Derry, to strike out ongoing impeachment proceedings against him and some 11 other judges, as filed by Tiger IPI, and NASA's investigative team had called for the removal of the 12 judges for allegedly engaging in underhand dealings and went on to screen a secret filming of the alleged act.
But Justice Derry said the public screening of the video and the naming of the judges was unconstitutional and violates his right to a fair hearing.
Justice Paul Derry was one of 12 judges implicated in a secret video filmed by the Tiger IPI team. They were seen in the footage allegedly engaging in corrupt practices. When this became public, it generated a lot of interest. Then started the legal tussle as to whether the investigative team had the right to organize a public viewing of the alleged underhand dealing or not. One of those involved in the case was Justice Paul Derry, who filed a suit in court to prevent the screening of the video and not to name the said judges. Justice Derry also wanted the court to dismiss any further proceedings against the 12 judges. But while agreeing that the public screening of the video contravenes with Article 1468 of the 1992 Constitution, the 7-member panel put together by the Supreme Court unanimously agreed the court could not stop the proceedings against the 12 judges since a case had already been established against them. The judges were also of the view that the public had the right to know, and a perpetual injunction on any further publication of the said video would stifle free speech as guaranteed by the Constitution. But the court assured that the committee constituted by the Chief Justice to investigate the bribery allegation will not rely on what is already in the public domain, but rather what is contained in the petition submitted to the President by Tiger IPI. Mr. Kisi Ajabeng is the lawyer for the plaintiff.
Now, we are all clear about the fact that publicizing the petition is unconstitutional. What is now left is, can you demonstrate that the petition itself, as it stands, is unlawful in any way, form, or shape? And that is what we are going to do. We are going to tackle the contents of the petition head on. So you would be hearing from my clients very, very soon in respect of that.
The IGP John Kudalo and the Chief of Defense Staff Major General Pokodise have met with the chiefs and opinion leaders at Asantea Chimagogo for their views on how to deal with the issue of Fulani herdsmen in the area. On Wednesday, the Ashanti Regional Security Council worked towards deploying additional security to the troubled area.
A court order issued in 2013 to move the Fulani herdsmen from the area is yet to be implemented. Thomas Nsoeje is the Ashanti Regional Correspondent for GBC24, and he has this update on the situation. We'll bring you Thomas's full story subsequently. Moving on now, the Ghana Police Service is cautioning motorcyclists who continue to flout road traffic regulations, including those without the necessary documents. On Thursday, the police cracked down and arrested motorbike riders for various offenses, including riding without licenses or protective helmets.
The Director General in charge of research and planning at the Ghana Police Service, COP Rosebio Atinga, reminded all cyclists and road users to respect the law.
The law demands that all motorcycles must be registered and licensed before use, but the police says many flout this basic law. They cite lack of proper licensing and riding without helmet as contributory to most motorcycle-related fatalities. To ensure sanity on our roads, the police on Thursday were on the streets of Accra to check such deviant behavior of motorcyclists. They strategically lay in wait at the Nima roundabout and the National Theatre at 8 a.m. for recalcitrant cyclists on unregistered motorbikes and those riding without protective helmet. As at 10 a.m., over 20 motorcycles had been impounded. While most of the cycles were unregistered, others were not insured and had no licenses. Offending courier service operators were also caught in the web as many did not have their licenses. Most of the riders GBC24 spoke to off-camera said they were not aware of any regulations on the use of motorbikes. Those asked to produce their documents either did not have any at all or said they had left it at home. Some of those arrested tried to outwit the police by ignoring their signals to stop. They led the police on a wild chase, but the police riders, of course, were the professionals and pursued and caught up with them. The Director General in charge of research and planning at the Ghana Police Service, COP Rosebio Atinga, cautioned road users to always abide by road regulations. She said the police will intensify its operations until sanity prevails on our roads.
Others decide not to observe the traffic light. Others, we believe, do not even have the riding license. Their motors are not insured. Their motors are not roadworthy. We'll check all that. So far, we have made several arrests, and we'll make sure that we process them for court. We want everybody to know that everybody should be law-abiding. It is not only the cars, because the motors too have to observe the rules and regulations that go into their trade.
All offenders are being processed for court.
In other news, the government has handed the 4th Community Day Senior High School to the people. The latest is located at Kwabwa Nyanwa, a village in the Upper West Akim district of the Eastern region.
In a previous election campaign, the president pledged 200 of such schools, with 123 of them currently under construction. Education was hotly debated by all political parties, with the ruling NDC positioning itself to provide the requisite infrastructure to absorb the backlog of school leavers as against an instant rollout of free education. Napoleon Atukito reports.
After the battle of ideas, the political competition engendered by democracy measures the outcomes from the rhetorics. President John Mahama, whose party, the NDC, preaches social democracy, won the day after heated debates on education. He is on the last lap of his first term, re-electable for a second. 3 years in the saddle has evoked an assessment of his stewardship by political analysts. There stands the 4th of the Community Day Senior High Schools at Kwabwa Nyanwa in Upper West Akim of Eastern Region. With 200 of such schools on his card, the president's party still has a long way to go in that endeavor. The government affirms that 123 of the schools were awarded on contract in the first phase, thus the others are at various levels of construction. The principle of equity is at the fore, following the location of the schools at most deprived areas. The 4, which has been ticked away, created 660 jobs and have absorbed over 700 continuing students from the junior high schools. They were part of the backlog which could have wasted away. Out of these symbolic structures will spring 2 important projects. Free education starts from this point, while additional facilities could be added to convert each day school into boarding or residential.
Free Gold Coaster, na mimi go school. Na when we say no ye hu bi. Na mo enne nipa obetra so sesi no. De o ye no e ye ni dia ade.
O man pani wa ya de. Na ewiase nipa ofu dia pa no na ipia no. don't see you say or mine so. A do no so. Now the member who are Hano. In fact, me call baby who Sadi will be who TV so.
The chief of the village, Bafo Kwekuakon, who is also the Benkum Hine of Asaman Kese, commended government for providing the school. President Mahama said he was bent on radical transformation in the country's infrastructure.
If you have two fathers, one of them you say, I want eggs, he will boil eggs for you. But daddy, me pay fried rice, he buys you fried rice. Daddy, me pay whey, he buys it for you. Only for him to die, and you find that he left you nothing. And you have another father. Daddy, me pay kosia, also the kobi kakra. Daddy, I want this, oh, get some plantain instead of fried rice. But at the end of the day, when your father dies, you realize he left you a house, he left you property. Which of the two fathers would you want to be your father?
For the first time in many years, a bulldozer was grazing the bad roads that leads to that part of the eastern region. The president had said at the Durban that his administration was determined to improve conditions on roads from one lot to another. On his return to Accra from Kwaoba Nyanwa, driving through Brekuso, Okurase and Adeso to join the Accra-Kumasi Highway, the president was mobbed by traders. Napoleon Atukitu reporting.
We'll turn our attention now to other news. And you know that the influx of refugees and migrants into Europe over the last couple of years has been described as historic. Pushed by civil war and attracted by the promise of a better life, hundreds of thousands of people have fled the Middle East and Africa, risking their lives along the way. The scale of the crisis has piled pressure on some destination countries, particularly Greece, Italy, Austria, and Hungary. On a visit to Accra earlier in the week, the Italian Prime Minister, Matteo Renzi, urged African countries, including Ghana, to work hard to create jobs for the youth in order to encourage them to stay at home. In the studio tonight to talk us through the migrant challenges is Professor Mariama Awumbila of the Center for Migration Studies at the University of Ghana. A very good evening to you, Prof, and many thanks for joining us here in the studio. First of all, one is tempted to ask, why has the issue of migration suddenly become a hot issue for discussion?
Thank you very much, and good evening. I think migration has always been there. Migration has always been a livelihood strategy, and particularly for us in Africa, Africans have always used migration as one means of moving to improve on their livelihoods. What has changed perhaps in the last few decades is that with the increasing inequalities between the developed and then the developing world, people are beginning to see less and less opportunities for themselves in areas of origin such as Ghana. And then they are seeing a lot of opportunities out there in the developed world. So migration is often a response to inequalities between development, a place having and another place not having. And people will always move to a place where they see more of an opportunity. Yep. And also the conflicts that we've had in the last decade, even let me put it, has also, increased the stream of migrants moving into the developed world.
Are we saying that the number of conflicts is what has increased? Because we know conflict has been with man ever since the creation of the world. And we also know that ever since the creation of the world, other places have been deemed to be better off than others. But the question is, now it appears that migration has become a very hot issue. I mean, Middle East, Africa, it's the order of the day. And we want that single thing that we can place our hands on and say, this is the reason why people are moving away from Africa and Asia and the Middle East in so many numbers.
For Africa, I think they are seeing more and more opportunities out there and see less and less of it. Everybody wants to improve on their livelihoods. So people are increasingly using it as an option for themselves. And some are moving in desperation, for instance, if it's to do with conflict, as we have seen in the last few years. So this is what has brought it on the front burner. But otherwise, migration has always been there. And also, I think the routes that people are using has appeared to be more. People used to move a lot more what I would term regular means. Policies in the developed world tended to be more lax. Now they've closed and tightened the policy, such that it's very difficult now for people to even move in regularly. And so people will use what we term irregular means, go across the desert to Libya, go across
the other day on one of our flagship programs, we were speaking to somebody who was bent on moving out of this country. And when we tried to discourage the person from doing so, he said, well, when people migrate, they send remittances anyway, and this goes to benefit the country. I'm just asking, how do we as a nation stand to benefit from migration?
Yeah, we said the migration has its negative aspects, but it also certainly has its positive aspects. So you've just talked about remittances. In fact, migrant remittances is being put as the second, some people put it as the third foreign exchange earner for Ghana. So Ghanaians outside sending in remittances is said to be now more than official development assistance that we get. It's more than foreign direct investments that we get. So if we manage these remittances well and try to get much more by putting in place certain policies, migration tends to bring in a lot of money through remittances, through skills enhancement. Some people go out, go and do courses, come back, they bring back, they transfer the skills that they get back into Ghana. There are a lot of benefits that migration can bring, but it must be managed properly. If you just leave it, often you do not benefit as much as you should benefit. And some countries have managed migration such that they are really earning quite a lot from migration. So
but what are the negatives? How does a nation lose when people migrate at the scale that they are doing at this point in time?
Yeah, so we often say that migration is a two-edged sword. It has its positives, but it also has its negatives. So for instance, in the 70s, 80s, maybe early 90s, when, as a result of the declining economic climate in Ghana and as a result of political instability, a lot of Ghanaians moved initially to the West African region, later on into Europe, into North America. A lot of our health professionals, doctors, nurses, lecturers, teachers, both skilled and unskilled, moved out in droves, and it really impacted on Ghana's economy. You could go to hospitals where you would not even get a doctor and then maybe two nurses. And it's even said to have impacted on our mortality levels. So our death levels are said to have increased somewhere late 90s to mid 2000 in response to the movement of the healthcare workers. It impacted on educational levels. It really had a detriment. That's why it's termed the brain drain, the draining of Africa's brains. But increasingly now we have managed it that we now call it a brain gain. Because people can go out, depending upon how you manage again, they enhance themselves, they come back. If they don't come back at all, they send remittances. So it can be a gain and not a drain.
Prof, earlier in the week, the Italian Prime Minister addressed our parliament, and he did indicate that our leaders should begin to implement policies that would attract investments in the country so as to curb the issue of migration. Didn't we know this all this while?
And indeed, a lot of recent migration researchers have always been talking about this, especially to the developed world, rather than erect fences and so to prevent people from going. It's a two-sided. Let's look at the area of origin and let's make sure that we put in place policies that will ensure that we have more employment opportunities, particularly for the young people who do more of the migration. And much of the research points to economic reasons why a majority, there are other reasons, but a majority move because they don't see any opportunities for themselves here, and yet they want to advance, and so therefore they try to move. So if we put in place policies here that will ensure that people can get jobs in the rural areas, they can be engaged in agriculture and still make some of them say agriculture is not worth it, it's not lucrative, I don't want to become a farmer. So we modernize agriculture, make sure that we look at the whole value chain. And indeed, I think our President, His Excellency John Mahama, also did mention that we need to look at the youth and make sure that we can give them employable skills. A lot of our youth has some skills, but sometimes it's not employable. It's not what the demand for the labor market wants, So sometimes they have skills, it's not what the market is really looking for.
I wish we really had more time to talk about all these issues, but I'll ask you my penultimate question, which is the EU last year said they were going to set up a fund of about $2.5 billion to address the issue of migration. Is that enough?
Well, no money is too little.
it can do something. Just like if you look at how it's to be, I think there are about 20 to 23 countries to share this money, mostly Sahel countries in the north of those along the major African migration routes. Then you find out that the amount per country will be limited, and it's also spread across a number of years. But again, it has to be managed well. But it comes back again to our own African governments. I think this may be a contribution, but we need to put in our own money. We need to have a more holistic policy that is looking at the whole issue of youth employment. Look at not only the training, make sure they have employable skills, make sure that they have all the other resources to be able to earn some income so that they can stay here. And we want to ensure that so that migration becomes a choice that people make, you see, and not a desperate survival strategy that they are taking. Because whatever you do, some people will still move. So it's a choice you make. That's okay. But you shouldn't move because you just don't see any other option for yourself. So you are desperate enough to go across the Sahara, across the Mediterranean, and maybe die in the process.
Right, but very finally and very briefly, do you foresee the issue of migration coming down anytime soon?
Again, it depends on the way we manage migration. If we create opportunities here, I can see the STEM reduce, and indeed I think it has reduced compared to, let's say, the 90s, 2000s. It has reduced a bit, so depending upon the way we manage it. But let's remember, migration will always take place, whatever we do. And secondly, if we look at the history of Europe, in fact, as they developed, migration increased before it started coming down. So I think we should brace ourselves for the fact that it might, as we develop, people see all these opportunities out there through the internet, they click and they see all these opportunities. They also want to take advantage of it. So we might see it coming down a little bit, but don't expect that it will stop.
Thank you very much, Professor Mariama Awumbila of the Center for Migration Studies of the University of Ghana. We have been looking at the issue of migration, and Professor will join us in one of our flagship talk show programs on GBC24 to look at this issue in detail. We move on now to other stories, and a demonstration has taken place in Tamale to back demands for the implementation of a peace plan to bring closure to more than half a decade of tension and conflict in one of the most restive regions in the country. A committee headed by the Asantehene has been mediating the long-running Dagbon chieftaincy dispute. Murtala Mohammed is the correspondent for GBC24 in the northern region and has the details on Thursday's demonstration. We'll bring you Mutale's story in subsequent bulletins. The local government minister, Alhaji Collins Dauda, has inspected some projects being undertaken under the public-private partnership. The projects in Accra are the fecal treatment plant at Ajenkutuku and the Mudo fecal treatment plant at Kolegono. Both projects are valued at $44 million.
The minister and his entourage first visited the Accra compost and recycling plant at Ajenkutuku in the Gan West district. Here, under public-private partnership agreement, the government of Ghana is partnering Zoom Lion Ghana Limited to construct a $9 million plant to process and treat waste from the Accra metropolis, municipal and district assemblies. This is a proposed plan for the project. Dr. Richard Amponsan is the managing director of the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant.
By the close of February this month, we will start the trials. We would first receive the first batch of the liquid waste and then take it through a trial. And then when we go through the trial for about 2 weeks or 1 month, then we do a demonstration. A demonstration will be done for about 1 month, and then after the demonstration, we do the mainstreaming. So we are hoping that after the trial, we should be able to start the preparation.
Later, the minister visited the Mudo fecal treatment plant at Kolegono. Here too, the government of Ghana is partnering Zoom Lion Ghana Limited to construct a $35 million plant to process and treat waste in such community. This is the proposed plan for the Mudo project. Local Government Minister Alhaji Collins Dauda was optimistic that the projects will help address the waste system in the region.
The plant that we visited at Ajim Kutuku can take 60 trucks a day for treatment. And this one, upon completion, can also or has the capacity of taking 200 trucks. So what it means is that the two plants together can take 260 trucks. So if we have these two plants done, I am sure that all the liquid waste generated in Accra and Tema will be treated.
He spoke about why some PPPs do not yield the desired result.
If you have a PPP, the understanding is that you share. It could be sharing revenue, it could be sharing risk. It mustn't always be money. But if you look at this situation for which we are here, we are looking for ways of addressing management of liquid waste in Ghana, which has been a big concern for us. After addressing the concern, we still can talk and have an arrangement where revenues will be shared. That is when the capital investment is recovered.
Meanwhile, both projects are being undertaken by Nanjing Wonders Environmental Protection Technology Company Limited, a Chinese firm in partnership with local engineers.
The IGP John Kudalo and the Chief of Defense Staff Major General Opoku-Edisei have met with the chiefs and opinion leaders at Asante Chimagogo for their views on how to deal with the issue of Fulani herdsmen in the area. On Wednesday, the Ashanti Regional Security Council worked towards deploying additional security to the troubled area. A court order issued in 2013 to move the Fulani herdsmen from the area is yet to be implemented. Thomas Nsweji is the Ashanti Regional Correspondent for GBC24 and had this update on the situation.
We were there this morning when we met with the chiefs at the palace to interact with them on how to deal with the Ango Fulani problem. In fact, when we went, the meeting between the chiefs and then the IGP and his entourage had ended. Then from there, they also met with the youth, especially the opinion leaders, the MP for the area, and some of the district security council members to also interact with them. But what came up was that the action taken yesterday by the Ashanti Regional Security Council to reinforce the security situation there was endorsed by the IGP and his men who came from Accra. But the assurance was that this time around they are not going to sit down unconcerned. They will make sure that they will beef up the security at the place to ensure that this time around they flush the tyranny from the place so that the peace that is about eluding the people at Abugo will not elude them.
The Ghana Police Service says a number of roads in Accra are to be closed ahead of the Night of Bliss program by the Christ Embassy Church at the Black Star Square on February 5, 2016. The affected roads will be closed to motorists from midday on the 5th of February to the early hours of Saturday, 6th February 2016.
The routes are 28th February Road at SEP's headquarters traffic light, Starlet 91 Street at the Ministry's traffic light, Castle Road from AU Circle towards the State House, Starlet 91 Road from the Osu Cemetery, traffic light to the Black Star Square, Laboni Junction towards Osu, Osu traffic light towards the Cross Road, Otu Kofi Street behind the State House and Local Road.
The police is appealing to the public to use alternative routes on the said days. However, the police will be on hand to assist with traffic diversion and direction. The Ghana Police Service regrets any inconvenience caused.
In other news, fire has swept through parts of Mountain Afajeto in the Volta region. A resident of the area, Wisdom Madugud, attributed the cause of fire to firecrackers by some tourists. He said if the situation is not held in check, it will affect tourism in the area.
You're still watching News Hour on GBC24 and GTV. You have business coming up. Please stay with us.
And many thanks for joining us. This is the business segment of the news. I am Dorothy Ajimai. Third-party insurance for both private vehicles and taxis have been increased from 252 Ghana cedis to 365 Ghana cedis, an increase of 31%. An increase of 31%. That of minibus has gone up by 23.54% from 367 Ghana cedis to 480 Ghana cedis. And maxi bars have also seen an increase of 25.63% from 357 to 480 Ghana cedis. The president of the Ghana Insurance Association, Mr. Ivan Avayere, in an interview with GBC24, denied that third-party insurance premium have been increased by 500%. In Ghana, it is compulsory for all vehicles to have a third-party insurance cover to protect the lives and property of third parties that are at risk as a result of accident. In June 2015, the National Insurance Commission introduced new tariffs for third-party motor insurance. The new tariffs saw the premium for private vehicles increase from 183.70 to 252 Ghana cedis, and that of commercial taxi increasing to 252 Ghana cedis. Minibuses or trotro also increased from 250 to 375 Ghana cedis. The second tranche implementation started in January 2016, and it saw the premiums for private vehicles increased from 252 to 365 Ghana cedis, and that of taxis increasing from 357 to 480 Ghana cedis. The premium for trotro also increased from 365 to 480 Ghana cedis. According to the president, Mr. Ivan Avayere, the third tranche would come into force in January 2017. He, however, denied that third-party insurance has gone up by 500% and explained the need for the increase in the premium payment for third party.
Our courts continue to award very high amounts in respect of litigated injury claims. We will recall a court award of 10 million Ghana cedis against SIC when the premium paid was only 53 Ghana cedis. I repeat, 53 Ghana cedis. Third-party premiums are not commensurate with the huge claims that come the way of insurance companies. You have seen that we had not increased this thing by 500% as has been panded around all over the place, and we have seen the various progressions.
In an interview with GBC24, Mr. Avayere said the new premiums will enable insurance companies to fully discharge their obligations.
Most of the times, 80% of the claims are paid. 10% can be doubtful, and then 10% can be rejected on basis of fraud. I'm sure we are now going to be in a better state to quickly react and pay our claims promptly with these premiums.
A directive has been issued by the government for all textbooks for both basic and senior high schools to be printed locally beginning this year. So far, 8 printing houses in the country have been selected to kickstart the process. The business desk has been finding out the level of preparedness of these 8 selected firms for the task ahead. 36 printing firms were given the chance to bid for the contract of printing textbooks for the basic and senior high schools locally. 8 qualified for the project, which is to be executed this month after the Ministry of Education evaluates and chooses the books to be printed. According to the printers, this initiative is good news for the industry, but it came after 7 years of lobbying and negotiations with government. Industry players say the move by government will go a long way to revive the once vibrant printing industry, which was on the verge of collapse. A visit to some of the companies that won the bid to print textbooks locally showed that both management and staff were bracing themselves up to ensure that pupils and children have textbooks to enable them continue on their academic journey. At Backpress near Ofanko, the computer-to-plate CTP, which is a state-of-the-art machine, was on display. It helps in getting the layout electronically as well as the plate. There were press machines arranged in sizes as well as the color machines. The Speedmaster 1028 color has the capacity to print 13,000 impressions per hour, which is good for printing textbooks. The press also has a densitometer to check the ink density and quality control. The operations manager of Backpress, William Osei Esibe, said his company has 27 years of experience and it is one of the few companies in West Africa that can boast of this Heidelberg equipment. He added that the equipment for stitching and binding, trimming and laminating textbooks are all in good shape and are ready to take off.
Income that will come out of this can be reinvested to expand the industry in terms of capacity, in terms of personnel.
Next on our radar was Type Company. Here, the staff strength is over 100, including permanent and casual workers. Similar machines were found. The CEO, Mr. Kobi Asma, was confident that the printing of textbooks by local companies will have multiplier effect on the job market.
How do we build capacity if we don't start? We need to start from somewhere. And we believe that this is going to be the trigger, this is going to be the stimulant.
One of the companies that has helped in changing the printing landscape in Ghana is Checkpoint. It is the first company to enter into mica checks printing business in 1996 and also a trailblazer in the printing of scratch cards in the country. Here too, the 102 Speedmaster Color 6 guillotine machine, automatic lamination, sewing and folding machines were ready for action. This is a rolling machine for exercise books. It can supply a yearly requested exercise books in 3 months. For continuous productivity, a 500 kVA plant and delivery vans were also available. For more job creation, the edges of these trimmed books are also used for toilet rolls, egg crate packages and cardboards for other related industries. A tour of the warehouse showed a company that is in the business for a long haul. The managing director of Checkpoint, Mr. Joe Boating, described the move by government to print textbooks locally as an incentive that will help put money in the pockets of the workers. He was upbeat about the quality of work that will be churned out by the local industry players.
We are going to work very, very hard. We are going to help each other so that our deliveries in terms of quality will be better than what was being imported into this country.
As part of the directive, a special duty-free dispensation has been given to the selected printers to import all the raw materials, especially papers. The president of Printers and Paper Packaging Association of Ghana, Mr. James Apiabekon, explained further.
The finance minister's address to parliament also said these taxes and VAT would be waived to make the local printer competitive, because all materials for the production of books entered the country loaded with various taxes and VAT as well, while finished books enter the country free of all these taxes.
According to these printers, the printing of textbooks will help ease the pressure on the city. This is because the millions of dollars that will be required to import textbooks from abroad can be used to shore up the value of the local currency and at the same time reduce the level of unemployment in Ghana. On Interbank, the cedi lost 5 pesos against the dollar to trade at 3 cedis 84 pesos. It also lost 13 cents to the euro to trade at 4 cedis 25 pesos. However, the cedi appreciated by the pound at 2 pesos to close trading at 5 cedis 59 pesos. On the commodity markets, all three major commodities gained some dollars. Light crude appreciated by 40 cents to trade at $32.68 per barrel. Gold gained $6.80 to trade at $1,148.10 an ounce. Cocoa also increased by $19 to trade at $2,856. Up next is the board. This segment was brought to you by Airtel, SIC, and Ernest Chemist. We have more news ahead. Please do stay.
Welcome to the health segment of the news. 9 regions, with the exception of the Central region, have succumbed to the meningitis outbreak. Current figures of fatality stand at 85. A total of 456 cases have been reported, out of which 40 have been confirmed. Health Minister Mr. Alex Segbefia confirmed this in Parliament on Thursday.
The past 5 years has seen outbreaks of meningitis of varying proportions, with the highest number of cases and deaths occurring in 2010. Then, over 1,600 cases were reported, with 128 deaths. These cases occurred within focal points and not a nationwide outbreak. Briefing the House on efforts to curb the recent outbreak, Minister for Health Mr. Alex Segbefia said the strain of bacteria causing this outbreak is not a common one, although none of the areas affected has assumed an epidemic stage, especially after interventions have been introduced.
We are not being complacent, but there is evidence that a number of activities in the area of surveillance, case management, laboratory testing, coordination and advocacy, as well as social mobilization, are ongoing across the country. We have provided funding support, antibiotics, laboratory test kits, and logistics to the affected regions and districts. I also directed that Ministry of Health mobile health vans, Onuyadon, be redirected to the affected communities to support our interventions.
As at the 3rd of February 2016, a total of 456 cases, 140 confirmed, and 85 deaths have been recorded across the country, with the exception of the Central region, which has recorded no case.
In Ashanti region, there have been 17 reported cases. 13 of these have been confirmed, and there are 6 fatalities. In Brahafo region, there have been 288 reported cases, 50 of them confirmed and 45 fatalities. In Eastern region, 2 reported cases, 2 confirmed cases, and 2 fatalities. In Greater Accra, there have been 4 cases, 3 confirmed, and 2 fatalities. In Northern region, there have been 58 reported cases, 20 confirmed, 19 fatalities. Upper East, there have been 35 reported cases, 14 confirmed, 1 fatality. Volta region, 7 reported cases, 6 confirmed, 1 fatality. Upper West, 43 cases, 20 confirmed, 8 fatalities. Western region, 2 reported cases, 2 confirmed, 1 fatality. Central region, no reported cases, and therefore, by definition, no confirmed cases and no fatalities.
Irrespective of the numbers, Mr. Segbefia says the country does not meet the criteria for vaccinating against the meningitis. Hence, early detection and treatment is key to effectively manage the outbreak. With support from the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research, the Center for Disease Control USA, the Medical Research Council of Zambia, Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research is leading in efforts to determine the exact bacteria strain. Reactions from the members of parliament were focused on equipping health facilities with diagnostic kits and putting the citizenry on constant alert, with a call on the media to report objectively on the disease to prevent panic by the citizens.
The trick is early detection of the disease, and antibiotics can deal with it if you have contracted it. Please immediately go to the hospital. Do not self-treat. Do not self-diagnose.
The House also referred credit agreements to accelerate tuberculosis detection to the Finance Committee for consideration. The Immigration Service Bill also saw its third reading. Sarah for GBC24, Parliament House, Accra.
Away from matters concerning health and back to our earlier story, a demonstration has taken place in Tamale to back demands for the implementation of a peace plan to bring closure to more than half a decade of tension and conflict in one of the most restive regions in the country. A committee headed by the Asante has been mediating the long-running Dagbon chieftaincy dispute. Mutala Mohammed is the correspondent for GBC24 in the northern region and has the details on Thursday's demonstration.
The demonstration actually took place in the Yendi municipality, which is the seat of the Dagomba Kingdom. The Abudu royal family undertook this demonstration and presented a petition to the President of the Republic of Ghana, asking him to order the renovation of the old Dewa Palace, or in lieu of that, hand over the palace to the Abudu royal family for renovation to enable them to perform the funeral of the late Yana Muhammadu Abdullahi IV. Now, the Abudu royal family is saying that until this is done, they are not going back to the negotiating table or in any meeting with the three eminent chiefs led by Otunfo, that they are out of that negotiation until government accept their demands. I must say the security personnel were also present in their numbers. The divisional police commander told me around 120 police personnel were deployed to ensure that the demonstration went on smoothly. And indeed, it went on smoothly. There was no problem whatsoever. Along the line, people started shouting and agitating that they be allowed to enter the premises of the Yendi Municipal Assembly. But the security personnel managed to quell the situation and everything went on smoothly.
Donor nations meeting in London have pledged more than $10 billion to help Syrians affected by the conflict. UK Prime Minister David Cameron has announced that the money would provide millions with life-saving food, medical care and shelter. He also said 1 million jobs and 1 million school places for refugees in bordering countries will be created. The gathering has been overshadowed by the suspension of peace talks in Geneva and intense fighting on the ground in Syria. Sports is coming up. Saturday, February 6th has been fixed as the date for the start of horse racing in Ghana. This is expected to bring relief to raise funds as the sport has been absent for 8 years.
Come on, George is over there initiating the stable. Ace back, Aswabru, and
all is set for the resumption of horse racing in Ghana. The race, also known as the Sport of Kings, has been off the country's sporting calendar for the past 8 years. The introduction of the sport in Ghana dates back to the 1920s and was the most popular pastime in Accra and Kumasi. The past decade has seen a decline in the sport due to many factors, including the relocation of the Accra Turf Club to Adringano, near Zoom Lion headquarters in Accra. After loads of work on the new site, the Accra Turf Club say Saturday, February 6th is the new date to revive the sport. The board secretary of the Accra Turf Club,
Come on, George is over there initiating the stable. Ace Wabru and
all is set for the resumption of horse racing in Ghana. The race, also known as the Sport of Kings, has been off the country's sporting calendar for the past 8 years. The introduction of the sport in Ghana dates back to the 1920s and was the most popular pastime in Accra and Kumasi. The past decade has seen a decline in the sport due to many factors, including the relocation of the Accra Turf Club to Adringano, near Zoom Lion headquarters in Accra. After loads of work on the new site, the Accra Turf Club say Saturday, February 6th is the new date to revive the sport. The board secretary of the Accra Turf Club, Samoniama Thexin, tells us more.
This coming Saturday, that is 6 February, horse racing will resume. And precisely, we are having it at the new site at Adringano on Zoom Lion's head office on Tar Road. As I'm speaking now, the horses, the horse owners, and all groomers are at the site, training vigorously. And we shall be running for 3 consecutive weeks. All placing horses, that's first, second, and third, will be grouped together to have a race called 6 March Independence Day horse racing with a cup on top. Prize monies or maintenance monies are very high, and punters and horse owners are expected to be there to see exactly what is happening. Initially, registered about 110 horses. We have received about 55 of them. It is free race, no punishment, no weight. We don't mind about who is riding who, but it's free race, no punishment for the 3 races that we are going to run.
After 3 weeks of racing, horses that finish in the first 3 will gain automatic qualification to participate in the Independence Day Challenge Cup set for March 12 this year. The race will take place at the new race course at Adringano, near Nungwa Agricultural Experimental Farm at exactly 2 p.m.
That's it for health. That's it for sports. And now to some entertainment news. Sunday night at 8:30 was when the audience gathered in front of the television set to watch a story unfold on the Obra drama series. Obra is set to make a return to GTV's screens. The group promises more educative and entertaining episodes.
Yes, madam. Auntie.
The local Akan drama series Obra started showing on national television in 1982. The local soap opera caught the attention of many viewers, both young and old. The group usually came on air on Sunday night at prime time. It was later moved to 11 on Sunday mornings, which was not favorable for viewers. Now the group has been rehearsing to make a comeback. GBC24 Entertainment Desk watched one of the rehearsals of the new Obra series. Some of the members spoke to GBC24.
Na omo sha ombehu se an Obra new Obra
se de media atu madwen mu ni se me pese me ye bibia na de na ro na ye de ama me se me ye na ye natural na edipa hu ro na ye de ma me no emfaso a ono so obinya afri ro ni ho
me ni omo nam no so ma ye sa abufra nti me suasua manam nti ni omo ye no eno na me ye eye ni yie.
There are times that we're going to call some of the superstars in other programs, to be guest artists and things like that. That's what we're going to do. And they say the Obra, what is going to come out is super. And to be Obra.
The coordinator of the Obra group, Mr. Mankwa Ampofo, gives details about the series.
The people must expect good program in the sense that Obra has been in existence for the past 35 years. And we are blending the old and the new. We have a lot of stories talking about moral issues, something like greetings. People, young ones see old men and the years pass. And these are some of the things we are tackling.
Meantime, the group has also lost some of its members.
roughly about 10 people within 35 years. There are a lot of them we've missed. I can't mention all, but one or two people has done their part very well.
Obra's time slot is every Sunday at 8:30 p.m.